listening to That's Pretty Dark,
the podcast where we talk about all the entertainment that scared us as children
and still haunts us as adults. So grab your flashlight and join us as we take a frightfully nostalgic look over our shoulders.
And under our beds.
And in our closets.
And together, we'll realize, whoa, that's pretty dark.
Time to start my green fuzz by the cramps. We both got the cramps going on.
Yeah, you got the cramps. I got the cramps. Mine are much less fun.
Mine are so much more fun than yours. It's unreal.
Yeah, we've been talking about how this is the summer of existential dread, just existential summer 2026.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I feel, because I got to see Hilary Duff this past week, which childhood dream fulfilled. Like, never got to see her when she was touring, like, you know, 20, 25 years ago.
Sure.
And I did it in a wheelchair because I have severe complications from all of the surgeries that I've had and all the cancer procedures and stuff. And those always flare up around a certain time of the month, if you know what I mean. And so I couldn't walk, but Hillary could. And so...
No, she does more than walk. I mean, she runs, she flies, she soars above us all.
She flies. She does.
I would see her. That's crazy. Seeing Hilary Duff for the first time in a wheelchair.
But to see her with my eyeball... Yeah, that whole existential idea...
But like, as someone who doesn't live in a wheelchair, you know, like... It's,
no.
You know what I mean? Like, this is a relatively rare experience.
Right. I'm generally fairly, and I won't even say I'm generally able-bodied, because that's not even true, but I'm generally more able-bodied than that. But yeah, whole new experience, and shout out to the Amerisbank Amphitheater and those really sweet guest services people. They definitely helped me out. But yeah, to see everybody dressed up at that show like it was 25 years ago, like it was just unspoken. I mean, I guess it is kind of spoken. It's on social media, I suppose. But like, it was something that we had clearly all, like, you know, thought about ahead of time and premeditated that we're going to be in the Y2K era for the night of this show. So there's just like butterfly clips and mesh and chokers and...
Oh, that's so good. The
slap bracelets, chunky, you know, flip-flops.
I'm picturing so many butterflies. I see so many butterflies.
I had ordered some stuff to wear and it didn't come in time, so there was also that. It was like, I did my best with what I had, but I really wanted to go full Metamorphosis, because that is the album that truly raised me. Metamorphosis and the self-titled albums, those two albums, I owe a lot of who I am as a person to those albums. And then she played, I don't want to spoil it for anybody that's getting to see her this summer, hopefully some of you Darklings are getting to see her, but she played Anywhere But Here, and I think she did that for me. I really do. I believe it. But it was a great time. But
she
it
covered
definitely
the Mayday Parade song. What are you?
Right. Yeah. Sure. But it definitely kept in that theme of like existentialism, because I was like, I had been to that venue when I was a teenager, seeing artists and whatever, and then there I am, and then there's like Hilary Duff, there's Lizzie McGuire, like in front of my eyeballs. It was crazy.
Lizzie
and then
Mick.
I'm just like in a wheelchair. Like, how do I? What is life? How do I? How do I take this all in?
I didn't think I would be this old when I saw Hilary Duff.
Right? I did not think that I'd be in a wheelchair.
Not that only old people use wheelchairs. I understand that everybody has a different experience. I'm just talking about you specifically, right? I'm not trying to offend anybody, even though I usually do on a regular basis. It's not my angle. It's not my goal.
You're trying to change because your name is
Christian Mott. Forever
and my name is Kaylin Andrews.
Christian Metamorphosis Baxter.
Christian Metamorphosis Mott. And I'm Kaylin Metamorphosis Andrews, and this is That's Pretty Metamorphosis Dark.
Emphasis on the meta a lot of the time. Don't know why I said that. It just feels true. My most relatable, relevant experience happened today. I was watching The Land Before Time, and you know, like we do with our non-existent, you know, ability to focus, our attention spans. I started to doom scroll while watching it.
Like, you don't want that.
It was middle of the afternoon. I needed to eat my second lunch.
That's a very bad combination.
So I started to scroll, but I came across a post today by 90s Kid Library about a book banning hearing in 1997 about the Goosebumps series.
Mm-hmm.
And when I tell you that I broke down into tears watching this video,
Whoa.
like, it was unreal. It really grounded me in a way that I feel like I needed today. I feel like I've been going through a lot of stuff I don't talk about usually. And I feel very far from, like, the person I want to be and the kind of life I want to live. Whoa. And I feel like I put a lot of
and you got all this from a hearing from 1997.
You know they say when you're mentally unwell and you have a lot of things not taken care of, the simplest things can just make you break down. It's usually it's the straw that breaks
that happened to be the
camel's
straw.
Emotional back.
Sure.
Makes the camel cry. And, the old saying, whatever
Mine
makes the camel cry.
Mine was singing "Fly" with Hilary Duff.
But it just sort of like, it just took me back to, because like the only books I would read as a kid were Goosebumps. I hated to read. You couldn't make me read. I had to for school. I would cry about it. It was terrible.
Wild.
Hated reading. And now I love to read, and I'm a writer, and I want to write my own version of Goosebumps, and all the stuff that we talk about all the time. But like there was this hearing about trying to ban Goosebumps, and there was this dad. He stood up to speak in favor of keeping the books on the shelves because his daughter would read Goosebumps, and he said that he's a single dad and like doesn't have time to read to her, but these are the books that she'll read, and he wanted her to continue reading and like hold on to that like love of reading these books, because he wanted her to have a better education than he had and have a better life than he had, and he knew that reading would get her there.
I mean, yeah, reading is foundational literacy in general. It's so important. And
so I just kind of lost it, because I feel like that's so true. And people still continue to try to ban books and take books away from kids who like
knowledge
reading
is power.
Anything.
Reading is power.
Reading anything is good. Reading is,
and I don't mean to be trite about that. Like, I mean,
no, definitely.
Just for reference, you can go back and listen to our Page Master episode. Right. I feel like we've ranted and soapboxed about book banning quite a lot on the show, because it's so important that people have knowledge at their fingertips, that it's accessible, that different perspectives and points of view are accessible, because
definitely
that's how you build empathy. That's how you build emotional intelligence. I mean, like, our societies, generally speaking, that these are the building blocks that are being demolished.
Right. So. Definitely. Yeah. I also read something recently that was like people who challenge things like, books that have a different perspective than you have, or like, anything like that that's different from you are. And people want to just like shut it down, call it bad. They want to say, it's evil or whatever. It's not really like a matter of ignorance. Like, it is ignorance, but it's more of like,
it's fear in a lot of cases. Human
instinctual fear of the other and something that's foreign to you. And they kind of go, well, I don't understand this, so it must be bad. So we perceive things we don't understand as threats.
Yeah. And that's
so it's
really
like,
not true in the case of literacy. And
absolutely
it's rarely true in general in modern society. I know that our ancestors needed, to feel like that to survive sometimes. But yeah, that mistrust of something new or something different is not really getting us as far as it once did, like, back in maybe the Jurassic or the Cretaceous period. I don't know.
Like these young dinosaurs who were taught the same values, like keep to yourself, trust your own kind.
Right.
Like
anything that's different must be bad.
I didn't know we were going there. I didn't mean to do that. But
I mean, it's all,
here we are. It's this one cyclical.
We often say it.
Circular thing. But yeah, just the fact that it was talking about Goosebumps books and something that I was raised on, and like this dad's kid had the same experience that I had. The only thing I wanted to read was that, and if it wasn't for R.L. Stine, I would be living a very different life. Like, I really don't think I'd be the same person. I would have missed out on a lot of fulfillment and like personal drive and like personal purpose. I really wouldn't know who I was. So yeah, watching that video just sort of reminded me of the important things and things that I think
kids
are
need
important.
books. Kids need books, but so do grown-ups. So stop banning them.
Stop banning them. But
please.
It just made me fall back in love with our show and what we're doing here. Again, I can't believe a lot of these same values we just found in The Land Before Time.
We did, and we will, and we'll continue to for at least like 13 pages of my notes today.
Heck yeah.
And probably beyond.
Just part one of a 2-part movie night.
Just part one.
Like we do.
Yeah, it's this movie. This movie was truly, we were talking about generational events earlier with the Hillary Duff show. It is this cultural generational thing where people are meeting their child selves. They're bringing, new generations into this this media that raised them, that they love. And that's kind of what's happening here as well, because with The Land Before Time, it's so weird. I've seen 2 of my friends who had no idea I was covering this posting that they were watching Land Before Time with their kids this last week.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know what it is about this movie. Aside from All Dogs and maybe Once Upon a Forest, this is probably the film that baby Kaylin remembers as having packed the hardest punch. Like, this is the film, All Dogs was terrifying and scary, and it had that existential fear, as did Once Upon a Forest. But in Once Upon a Forest, at least, especially, it was more of a brief, window, a moment. And that's the case here too. But that loss is also what sticks with, the crew throughout the whole movie. The way that it was done, the music, the emphasis, I guess, on the loss is different, I think, in this movie. And we're going to talk, I'm sure, for episodes and episodes all about how and why. And this will now become the episode that we reference all the time. But this movie did something to me as a kid. And I remember, again, watching this stuff, I wasn't always actively upset by it. It was just kind of making wheels turn. I remember crying as a kid about this movie. You know what I mean? Yeah. There's a different immediacy to the pain, to the emotion. And we're going to get into all the reasons why.
Yeah, this one definitely stuck with me, lived with me for a long time. I think it's probably what gave me my childhood fear of losing my mother.
Yeah.
I know that sounds like, a common thing, but I had severe separation anxiety.
As did I.
For a very long time.
Yeah.
Till I was a preteen.
Me too.
It never
Me too.
went away.
And this movie did not help. I don't know if it was necessarily the source, but I agree with you. I think it's kind of one of the things that really it really drilled in what it would feel like. You know what I mean? It made me think about what it would actually feel like,
what it would be like
to be in that position. More than really any media that I'd consumed to that point. And I'm sure a lot of Darklings agree with us on that front.
Yeah.
It was formative in every sense. And I named so many of my figurines and my stuffed animals as a kid after these characters as well. It was it just stuck with me because, and looking back now, I can recognize that I was trying to play and act out the story to process that emotion more than likely. But so many of my companions as a kid were named after characters from this movie. I connected with it very hard. And again, it touches on that biggest, most massive, the thing that you can't imagine, the hill you can't imagine climbing, losing loved ones, losing your mom, losing someone that close to you in general. To the point, I feel like I either talk about it or it just comes up, or I have talked about it on the show over 5 years, that I have had people checking in on me this week as they've known that this was what I was researching. Thomas was in town. You'll hear about Thomas all the time, my best friend weatherman. He came over to watch the end of the movie with me because I was just I can't do it. Travis sent me a bunch of timeline research, Jurassic, Cretaceous stuff for the dinosaurs. Kelly has been commiserating with me about the emotional imprint of the movie for years. Actually, I don't know if you can see it. That's it. He bought me the VHS of Land Before Time. So that's behind me right now. So I feel like everybody in my life was just kind of this is hard for you, huh? And it's a big deal. But I think that obviously we asked in our Instagram stories, the reason that we're covering this movie this summer, because we've pushed it off and pushed it off. Darklings don't know this. They don't know the behind the scenes. Right. We have literally had this on the schedule before and moved it. We've just pushed it because it's can we go there right now? Yeah, we just haven't been sure if we could stomach it. And Yeah, and we would punt it. So this time we asked on Instagram, because I was considering doing Hunchback of Notre Dame, which we will do eventually, but I made the either the mistake or I did the right thing by asking, and it sounds like y'all need to process this movie too. So this is what we're doing. This is our work. We're here to heal, and we're gonna do that together today. Hopefully, all of us will leave with a better understanding, at least today, of what this movie is and why it did what it did to us. And we get a whole episode to warm up to the really tough stuff, because today's journey is, as usual, all about the production story.
Yeah, thanks for that. I'll be taking on part 2. So
yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome.
Doing the real heavy lifting.
The Land Before Time premiered theatrically through Universal Pictures on November 18th, 1988. It was the same day that Disney released Oliver and Company, so we probably already talked about that before. Same day.
Wow.
It was co-produced by Don Bluth, George Lucas, and Steven Spielberg, as well as Spielberg's longtime collaborators, which we discussed a ton during our Hocus Pocus coverage, which were Kathleen Kennedy and Frank Marshall. You hear this group of people in interviews, just different like stuff that we've talked about over the years. Everybody talks about Kathy Kennedy. She was the producer. And so this is a team that we are pretty familiar with, which is not always the case. But it's just so wild to me that this movie and the impact that it had, and we'll talk about it. Just watching it back, I had different thoughts, you know what I mean, than I did when I was thinking about the movie.
Sure.
It just didn't, I don't know. It imprinted differently than I think is like the movie as we know it, you know, what actually exists, the reality of it. But that always happens.
Yeah.
Outside of the Indiana Jones films, this is the only film to be co-produced by both George Lucas and Steven Spielberg. And it's also one of 3 features, along with An American Tail and Who Framed Roger Rabbit, that led to Spielberg founding his animation studio, Amblimation, you know, Amblin Entertainment, and then Amblimation being the animated arm. And that is because this movie did pretty well. It grossed $84.5 million on a $12.3 million budget.
Wow.
So pretty good, and so good, in fact, that it spawned 13 more movies, TV series, and I think like 8 video games. Maybe more. Honestly.
Wait, so they made 13 Land Before Time
They
movies.
made 13 Land Before Time movies.
I thought there were like 3.
In fact, it may be 14, like 13, this one plus 13.
Oh my God. And then
I might
8
be wrong.
Video
Fact check
games?
me, Darklings. And 8 video games.
I could see a video game being pretty good.
I remember playing one on some system. I don't know if it was a Game Boy game. I don't remember, but
That's
yeah.
crazy.
And CD-ROM, definitely a CD-ROM. 100%.
Sure. Yeah.
Sometime in the mid-'80s, during the production of An American Tail, Bluth and Spielberg started brainstorming ideas for their next feature. The prevailing theme was literally, like, and I'm quoting, a film similar to Bambi, but with dinosaurs. They took that straight to the bank. Mother? Bambi, of course, had devastated and captivated audiences for decades prior to this, and I guess they thought that children of Earth had not suffered enough yet.
It's funny because I saw like inspiration for future movies. I didn't necessarily have any. I guess I thought of Pinocchio. I didn't think of Bambi though. But Bambi makes sense. That makes a lot of sense.
Bambi makes a lot of sense.
Way more sense than Pinocchio.
Spielberg brought George Lucas into the mix, and despite originally wanting the film not to have any dialogue, Spielberg wanted it to kind of reflect the Rite of Spring sequence in Fantasia. Like, there's this like dawn of the day, birth of civilization, you know, like he wanted it to be more like that. But they decided that it would like more appeal to children if there were voice actors that the kids could relate to, and I mean, of concepts, like, knocked that out of the park. I cannot imagine this movie having been just like a, you know, animated dialogue free, like, look at what happens, you know.
It would have been really interesting. Did you see that?
Very different. Speaking of attention spans, I can't imagine.
Yeah, no, definitely. Did you see that movie about the cat that had no dialogue?
Yes.
That came out. The
Black Cat?
Yeah. What's it called?
I can't remember. Was it a Pixar short?
No. Some independent filmmaker just like developed it like in his garage. Cat movie. Flow. It's called Flow.
Oh, then no, I haven't seen that.
Oh, it's phenomenal. You should watch it. It's a feature-length film. No dialogue. It's just animals in this kind of futuristic world. And there's a flood and they have to all survive the flood. It's kind of a similar concept as this. And they just sort of find each other, but the whole story is told through body language and like posturing of these animals. And it's incredible. You should definitely watch it. But so it worked there, but I don't know that it would have worked 40 years ago.
Right. 40 years ago. And completely different style of animation.
But I love that they held on to that vibe while working in just, common filmmaking constructs like dialogue, because it felt like you were watching a documentary.
Yeah, I was just going to say. It felt like David Attenborough does dinosaurs. Like, at first especially. It's like,
out here's a documentary, but then we get the intimate look at them, and we see the actual interaction amongst the
I only wish they could do that with nature documentaries. Right. I wish they could get the inner thoughts of those animals. Could we just get a talking head of like the zebra?
Hey,
God,
that'd be pretty.
That would make my
good.
life.
Yeah, be careful what you wish for though, because now we're gonna get like an AI animated.
That is not what I mean.
It's gonna be like.
To be clear, that is not what I'm looking for. No thanks.
This AI filtering. And
no, thank you.
Like the cat. Chatterbox translator thing or whatever.
Oh, right. Well, I mean, I guess, Up tried to do that. Tried to get dogs to talk.
That's different.
I agree. That's different and better.
That came
I'm
from
just
Dexter's
imagining
lab.
if I'm
Dexter
literally
had
looking at it.
Out.
Well, okay, that too. But I'm literally looking at it as if we were watching like a nature documentary, and then we could just see like what the polar bear cub was actually thinking.
Subtitles.
Yeah, that'd be great. I'd take it any way it came, except AI.
Except AI.
Magic, please. I prefer magic.
Oh, yeah.
So these three then approached Judy Friedberg and Tony Geiss, who had written An American Tail, to write the screenplay.
Oh, wow.
Not to spoil too much when we talk about American Tail, but Judy and Tony were Emmy-winning writers for Sesame Street, and Judy had actually worked on the show for over 35 years.
Oh,
or I guess she did work on the show for over 35 years. She was in the middle of her career there, but...
Well, when you have Steven Spielberg and George Lucas and Don Bluth, I mean, who can you not get to work on your movie? Like,
right.
Who's not willing?
Right.
You get the
Between
call.
the three of them,
Spielberg
I feel like
you,
they
you
had
the call.
Every single possible connection that they could want for this movie, for sure. Which makes it interesting because the kids were, child actors, but like a lot of the kids were relatively, they were lesser known. I'm not going to say unknown, but lesser known at the time. So this initial screenplay draft got the ball rolling, but the producers felt the story might still be kind of too juvenile. So then they brought in screenwriter Stu Krager to age it up. I'm excited about this because millennials might also be familiar with Stu's work in the DCOM scene, and that's Disney Channel original movies. I talk about them a lot. I've followed Stu on social media for years and years myself because he was a writer behind one of my favorite DCOMs, True Confessions, as well as the Xenon series, Xenon, Girl of the 21st Century. So, big deal.
Oh, I heard
also did Smart House, Family on the Megaplex, Gotta Kick It Up, Going to the Mat, and Cowbells with Allie and AJ. And I actually remember, it's been a few years now at least, but I remember the day that I realized that the person who wrote Xenon also wrote Land Before Time. And it was like my early childhood and my late childhood kind of came full circle. And I was amazed that was all coming from the same voice. I feel like something that's very specific to Stu is that he develops really iconic slang and phrasing for his characters and his worlds, as he's writing. And if we ever get the chance to talk to Stu, which I hope we do, it's going to be absolutely impossible for me not to use Xenon speak. Fair warning. Which would be probably a crisis major. Stu has been known to dispense trivia across the internet in different interviews. He does interviews pretty often, and he's out there, like I said, on social media. And I have heard him say that Littlefoot was originally named Thunderfoot. You might recognize that might be because Brontosaurus means thunder lizard in Greek, and we'll get to all that later.
No, I didn't know that.
But there was a copyright owned by a children's book from the UK, which was ironically called Long Neck and Thunderfoot. Long Neck and Thunderfoot, not Thunderfoot the Long Neck or something.
Right.
Sort of like a Jared plays Dean in Gilmore Girls and has a brother named Dean in Supernatural. It's not,
one of those.
But anyway, this copyright meant that they had to pivot. Petrie was actually going to be named Terry, but Terry the pterodactyl was already a character on Pee-wee's Playhouse, so couldn't be Terry. Yeah. Stu
but
also
you can't
said
copyright names.
You can't, but like it, the concept was already done, and especially in the 80s, like that was already right there in front of people.
You're telling me that you say that, but you look at Halloween Town and you just say, well, whatever, they just do whatever, it's fine. I approve. And I'm like, what? No. Same difference.
Yeah. I mean,
you can't have two Halloween Towns. And if you can have two Terrys.
It's tough. I think they could have had two Terrys, but I understand the decision not to want to.
Yeah.
Like, I get it. Stu also said that the term tree stars literally came from a day when he went out to his backyard and he laid in the grass and he was like looking up at the trees, like thinking like he wanted to look at them like as if he were like a dinosaur hatchling looking up at the trees and like, how would you see this? What would you say? And he's like, what do those things look like? Tree stars.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty good.
I was hoping it was just leaf. Like not like, oh no, there's actually a specific kind of leaf on this specific kind of tree that did
exist 52
million years ago. Like, I don't know.
Tree stars, because they look honestly, like stars.
I'm so overwhelmed already with the thought of researching all things dinosaurs. I don't know enough about dinosaurs.
I've done a good bit of it today. I'm really excited. I'm very, very excited about it. I was thrilled to like special interest all over this. So
okay. Well, then maybe I'll let you do that for this series, and I'll just talk about the movie.
Sure. I love a dinosaur. I love a dino. Perfect. I love a dino moment. I love to talk about them. I love to think about them.
There's so much there, and it's changing every single day, and I can't keep
it. It is. Yeah. And I'm sure somebody will be listening to this episode years from now, and they'll be like, you guys, that wasn't right.
That's been disproven.
Yeah.
You know that none of those dinosaurs lived in the same place at the same time in the history of the planet.
We're getting there. But hey, all any of us can do is work with the contemporary paleontological evidence.
Sure. You said it right.
I'm sure I did. And speaking of, Wikipedia said that the production was preceded by extensive research, including visits to natural history museums in New York, Chicago, LA, and the Smithsonian. There were skeletons, fossils, and paleo art from the turn of the century, and they consulted all of this stuff to help try and create like a credible landscape and animals. Further research was also conducted using live action footage of quadrupedal modern animals like elephants and giraffes. So they were looking at those for models on how animals moved. And I mean, I get it, because you couldn't exactly like look at a moving dinosaur to get a reference for this movie.
No shit.
Just they're very, 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 very distant relatives.
Yeah. There are a number of types of birds that like to hang out in the backyard.
Dinosaurs, you mean?
And yeah, one of them is a massive blue heron. And when that thing's walking around the pond and like through the grass,
dino guy
strutting, I'm like, that's a fucking dinosaur right there.
Yeah, it is.
Look at him go.
Is. That is a dino guy.
It's wild.
For sure. So early in story development, the film was about a group of young dinosaurs looking for a wise older dinosaur. Like they're on this quest to find this elder. But later on, Don Bluth said that they came up with another idea that none of the dinosaurs got along with each other, and they all hated each other, and they were taught from the time that they were born not to associate with one another, aka racism. And of course, that came from Don Bluth himself. I mean, it's pretty heavy-handed. It's not like this was an interpretation. It was pretty intentional. It was pretty baked in. But Don Bluth has been recorded as saying so.
I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think that's a great moral. I think that's a great message, to give anyone. But it's a great lesson for kids to learn as early as possible. Mm-hmm. And yeah, that's going to be a lot of what we talk about. I mean, next
I
time,
say heavy-handed. I mean, it was just like it was present, and they said the thing out loud. Yeah. But it wasn't like they were spoon feeding like this is right and this is wrong. It was more presented as like this is how it is. Yeah, and then through the story, the kids understand that. Why is it that way? It doesn't have to be.
I do commend them for not leaning into any particular racial stereotypes. That would have been very problematic.
Yeah, none at all. Because these are dinosaurs.
They stuck with their physical differences, which I think was smart. Mm-hmm. Not like personality traits.
And like we'll talk about, like these kids learn, sometimes those physical differences and the beautiful differences in the variety and what makes us is what makes us most, not even, I was going to say valuable, but it's not even just valuable. It's like what makes us most helpful to those around us, using our strengths that other people don't have.
Well, now you're just concluding part 2 of our whole series.
Right.
That's like the whole.
We're done here.
That's like the conclusion. That's it.
We've been doing
Thanks
that
for
lately.
Listening. Thanks
wrapping it up early.
No, I was going to say, it's funny. They go from trying to find the wise older dinosaur at the end of the journey to beginning their journey when the wise older dinosaurs die.
Mm-hmm.
It's very sad.
Instead of going to seek them out, it was just, never mind.
Now we have no choice but to go it alone because we don't have.
We're going to go where they told us to go.
The elders
instead of going to find them. As Stu continued to revise the script, Bluth started working on concept art with the animation staff. And he himself, Don Bluth, did the storyboarding with final revisions by Larry Lecker.
Sounds like a Lecker guy.
Truly. Production then began in earnest in spring of 1987. This was a few months after the release of An American Tail. And then soon after this, Sullivan Bluth Studios, they sought cost savings by relocating from California to Dublin, Ireland. So in the middle of this production on Land Before Time, they packed up their studio and moved to a new facility in Ireland. There were a bunch of the investments and grants by the Irish government at the time because they wanted to attract animation and creative industries. And they had this huge animation complex that had been built in Dublin that could support feature production. So it was kind of all built in and they were able to move right over there. And the price was right. Obviously, this was again for cost savings, but it came at the very real cost of time. So many of these staff members actually moved overseas, so brought some of the staff with them from Bluth Studios, and then new artists had to be recruited and trained, like artists in Ireland. And so it was a much slower process than it would have been if they just stayed in California. But again, sounds like the cost savings was worth it. And it sounds like they probably could have stayed in California and still grossed, made a profit off of that, knowing that they grossed over $80 million.
Yeah, I mean,
you live and you learn. Couldn't have known it at the time. And they did make more than they would have. So.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, seems like you might want to finish the project you're working on, then
and
move.
Then
and
scoot on over to
else.
Ireland. Yeah. It's funny. I'm sure that they had their reasons, but it's tough when it's a big, a big company like that. And I mean, these are the biggest producers in Hollywood too. It's like, if you needed more money, probably were easier ways to get
just
it.
Ask.
Just right?
Literally just say, hey, what you got?
It's interesting to me that a lot of this movie was completed in Ireland.
Yeah,
something I never would have thought about.
I've seen the Ireland Limited on various movies over the years, and I never understood. I just figured it was some production company just called themselves Ireland, but I guess it's literally a company
in some cases,
a facility in Ireland.
Yeah, we've talked about it, often in terms of Japanese animation and how they would outsource to certain studios over in overseas, and how that can be a cost saving sometimes. And so in this case, it was the whole thing.
Hey, I would go to
over there.
Either Ireland or Japan for free to work on a movie. Just say when. Yeah,
move me. Move me, Don Bluth, George Lucas, and Steven Spielberg.
Yeah, let's relocate.
John Pomeroy, animation supervisor, discussed how this studio move was almost mirrored in the film because they were moving from California to Dublin. And he talked about how they had to enter another culture and they were learning to co-create with the Irish artists and learning the characters were to work together for their collective survival, he said. Don Bluth, and Gary Goldman, who handled contracting and post-production, the three of them worked really closely throughout American Tail, Secret of NIMH, and Dragon's Lair. So there was kind of a team of three producers. Don had these guys kind of as his main guys, go-to guys, and they all worked together on all these Don Bluth features. Yeah. So it's cool whenever you get you assemble a team and the same team can stick together. And we often we don't really see that very much on our show, where the same team can stick together through multiple features.
Right. Yeah.
And certainly not necessarily multiple features that would earn a pretty dark discussion.
That's true.
Leave it to Don Bluth.
It's hard to find your people. It's hard to find because it might work this time, but you might not want to do it again.
Sure.
Might not seem like the best thing.
Mm-hmm. But when it clicks.
When it works, it works.
It really clicks. And again, a lot of things about this movie kind of surprised me or I didn't expect when I was sitting back down to rewatch. But the thing that surprised me most was the short runtime. This film is only an hour and 9 minutes long.
If you include the credits, it's basically just an hour long.
Yeah, it did not feel like all of that emotional damage happened that quickly as a kid. It can't have only been an hour. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Turns out it was actually supposed to be more damaging, and it was supposed to take a lot longer.
Wow.
In April of 1988, the film was screened for Spielberg and Lucas, and they were immediately like, hey, we probably need to cut a lot of this because it's too scary. Spielberg was quoted as saying that they would have kids crying in the lobby and a lot of angry parents, and they didn't want that. So from the first time Spielberg has screened the whole thing, he was like, no, you can't do that. And to me, I'm like, the man who made E.T. said no.
Well, that wasn't explicitly for children. This is
You're
different.
Right. That's true. And that is the only reason why, it doesn't completely floor me.
That was more general audiences. This is
too. Bring your little baby children to this movie. And I get that was his target audience. And so that was going to, again, cut into profits.
But I mean, he probably still had kids crying in the lobby.
That's what I was going to say. I don't know if they succeeded in fixing that problem for themselves.
God. Oh.
So 19 already fully animated shots from the initial Sharptooth attack, the one like in the briar patch, were cut. Some of those included like a point of view shot of Sharptooth's jaws snapping. And that was just too much. Yeah. And because of how the remaining shots needed to be rearranged to shorten the sequence, there are even like a couple continuity errors in some of that. Like I think at one point the Sharptooth has his right eye open, even though it's supposed to have been blinded.
I noticed his eyes. Yeah, I was like, that's
why.
At one point they're both open.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, what's happening?
Yeah, that's the reason. Because they had to cut it together differently to make the sequence work in a shorter span, and
did they
so many
flip
fewer shots.
The image? Is that why?
I'm not sure.
Because they had to reuse other
perhaps
frames
that would
and
make sense.
Flipped it?
I don't know if that would have been how they would have done it at the time, because it was all hand drawn.
But I just don't see why shortening a sequence would mean they have a continuity error, like the wrong eye, unless they flipped it and it now looks like
and he needed to be going the other direction or whatever. Yeah, that's possible.
But it looked fine except for the eyes. I was like, what the? Because again, at one point, both of his eyes are open. And it's like, there's literally zero payoff for this being a half-blind T-Rex. Like, nothing.
Right. Yeah. And I can't get over the fact that they had already fully animated so much of it.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't like it was like in, storyboarding. It wasn't like they were cutting it when it was like, this is the movie. And then he was like, no, it isn't. Nope.
Yeah.
Sure isn't. Don't do that. So they did this. And then, weeks before the film was released, they decided to cut an additional 10 minutes of footage just before release. And they wanted to do this to be sure that it wouldn't disturb parents or their children. I feel like, again, that was not a guarantee based on based on the story that they were telling and the movie that they had made. I feel like that was already pretty much gonna happen regardless.
Yeah. So it was an hour and a half.
Mm-hmm. Gary Goldman said that this reduced the runtime from like whatever it was 90 minutes, closer to 90 minutes. This reduced it to 80 minutes, and then that original cut reduced it to 80, and then it got down to 69.
They just wanted it to be 69 minutes. Oh, they can make all the excuses they want. They just wanted to. They wanted a
69-minute movie.
Yeah, who doesn't?
I don't know, man. A lot of these cuts, again, were sequences of a dino's in danger and distress. Wikipedia said that there was an extended scene involving the introduction of Spike that was deleted, as were some of the green food sequences. And that, to me, already took a long time when they found the green food. And then Petrie's death scene in air quotes, went on a lot longer than it does in the final cut. And I know we'll talk more about this in part 2, but the pacing of this movie felt super weird to me.
Agreed.
I don't know how exactly to describe it. Hopefully I get better at it. But like each individual scene and moment felt really long, but the movie itself felt like a blink. Mm-hmm. I don't know what that magic is for it to just be like every moment feels super long and like super drawn out. But then and maybe that's just it. Maybe the moments really were super long and drawn out, but there just weren't that many of them strung together, certainly less than there were going to be to begin with. It's like
what was that saying, like the hours are long but days are short, something like that. The minutes are long but the hour
is short. Wikipedia also talked about how the film's final act was heavily altered and rearranged. Like I think at a certain point, Littlefoot was supposed to like find the Great Valley on his own, and then he was supposed to go back and rescue his friends, and they were supposed to kill Sharptooth and then enter the valley together.
That makes sense with the way the movie does work, because he just sort of shows back up out of nowhere.
And that's why. And this ending, there are multiple book adaptations that have this ending, and there's music that accompanied this ending, and that still exists. Like a lot of that was supposed to be different than it ended up being. They also made some of the screams milder, like from the kids, because they were too scary. It was too distressing, I guess.
Too realistic. Yeah,
I can understand that, because again, the sound is so important.
It is. And
I know what you're wondering, Darklings and Christian. You're wondering if there's an original Don Bluth scary as fuck cut that's hiding out there somewhere in the world. And I would say unfortunately or fortunately, there is likely not. They believe that those scenes have been destroyed, but some of those scenes did make it into ads and trailers that were created, before the film's release. And multiple stills can still be found in some of the storybook adaptations and press kits for the movie. So some of the stills from scenes that were deleted. And then there's still like animation cells and drawings from deleted scenes that have surfaced on the internet, but to the knowledge of anybody that's willing to talk about it, there aren't any like complete scenes still existing out there.
It's, they supposedly Nosferatu was destroyed too, but you can still go watch Nosferatu. So I think it's out there. Yeah. I choose to believe. I want to believe, if you will.
Want to believe.
I think the truth is out there. I've been rewatching X-Files lately.
There it is.
I'm not rewatching it. I picked it back up. I stopped halfway through season 6 for no reason. I don't even know when, years ago.
I haven't ever watched it all. Like I've watched bits and pieces here and there, and never in sequence either.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that was me as a kid because my dad watched it. So it's all nostalgic for me because I would fall asleep every night to him watching X-Files. So
it's a hell of a thing to fall asleep to. I've done that too.
Tell me about it. And I'd sneak in there, like watch, the TV sometimes. It scared me to death. But yeah, no, I love it. And I just picked it back up recently because I never have time to myself ever, but I've had like glimpses of that freedom.
And you're filling it with X-Files.
Tiny, tiny little fragments of moments that I watch, like 6 minutes of episode 5 of season 6.
And you're like, I needed that today. I needed a hit.
Yeah,
I needed a hit of Mulder and Scully.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like we've just encouraged a horde of Darklings to go looking for the lost footage or hunt down Land Before Time storybooks on eBay.
Well, let us know if you find anything. What I was wondering was if there was a book that this was based on. But it sounds like no.
That I found.
Well, it sounds like no. If they were trying to make a completely different movie entirely, but then they changed it, this was an original concept.
They were just going for it. But again, like prototype seems to be something like Bambi. It's like they had the bones of what they wanted to do. It was just a matter of how to do it and how to structure it.
Bones. Let's make Bambi, but dinosaurs. Cool.
And that's exactly what they did. The legendary James Horner was responsible for the score, and I think we've said his name more than any other composer by far. He did We're Back, Casper, Jumanji, Once Upon a Forest, Page Master, Balto. That makes 7 titles of stuff that we have covered that James Horner scored. So he was one of the in my mind, most prominent figures in like destroying us emotionally as children, teaching us emotionally as children, building us emotionally as children.
Yeah,
all of the above at the same time.
His music really could be taught in an emotional education course.
I think so.
You know what I mean?
I don't remember if we've talked about it previously, because obviously we've talked about James Horner a lot, and it's very possible that we've said this already, so please forgive me, Darklings. It's been 5 years. My memory is going.
Getting old.
But did you know that he passed in a plane crash in 2015?
No.
Yeah, I didn't either. At least I didn't remember that I knew that. You wouldn't know this either. He also passed on June 22nd, which is when I read about his passing when I was researching.
Of course.
For this episode.
Of course.
Yeah, happens too frequently and spooks me out every time. We've had
too
many
email?
of those weird. Yeah, we got a really sweet email from a Darkling that they had some serendipity about our Pied Piper episode. That one's got too much, frankly. Too much going on.
Listen, on June 26th, for the first time, binging our show and just stumbled across that episode.
I prefer, like, serendipity is nice because it can feel like you're in the right place, you're doing the right thing. But so much of our serendipity lately has been involving really terrible stuff.
Dead celebrities and missing children.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Oh, man.
I don't love it. I don't love that part. Anyway, James Horner was only 61 years old when he passed, but I've often found myself wishing that we on this show could talk with him because he, again, made a significant percentage of the music that finds its way onto our show. And it's wild that so much of that came from one mind.
That is insane.
And because I found it and I want to talk about it and we're talking about James Horner and why not, a blog called Little White Lies actually did manage to get a rare interview with him in April of 2015, just before he passed. Because at that time he had like new concert music coming out. Like he was doing a concert on his own, like orchestral stuff, independent of his film work. And he was promoting that. And in that interview, he discussed his process and he talked about his, wide ranging catalog. And he mentioned several films specifically, including Land Before Time and Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. And I wanted to talk about what he said about these films because I think it gives a really good glimpse into like his process and like who he is as a person, sort of.
Yeah.
Since we can't talk to him. He said that what he did is move from project to project, and he would purposefully try to do things that were absolutely opposed to his previous project so that there wouldn't be any crossover or like residual ideas appearing in the next movie. Like he would just pivot completely in a different emotional direction or a different theme or whatever so that there wouldn't be any of that like lingering stuff, which I've often wondered about that, like not composing music, but loving music. I'm like, how do people have continuous original ideas and not like cannibalize themselves all the time because you've already had this idea, like, and I'm sure it happens, but and it just I've wondered how that happens.
Other music constantly because I mean you can't help it. Like it's just these are just feelings and vibes and thoughts and sounds, and it's like
and
how do you know you're not
so many sounds? There are lots of them.
Completely ripping somebody off by accident.
Yeah, and that happens.
And then or yourself from last time. That's insane.
Right. I also included this "Honey, I Shrunk the Kids" quote, even though we haven't yet talked about that, but I'm sure we will. Oh, yeah, because again, I love how it gives a glimpse into like who he is.
It had to be a sort of quirky, sort of comedic score, which I'd never done before. It was more lightweight. It wasn't this kind of storytelling that I normally like to do, but I knew the filmmaker, Joe Johnson, very well, and I wanted to have a go at it. So we did the score. I don't know if I do another light comedy like that. I'm not a comedy person for some reason. I tend to go deeper. I'm a darker person, but it was fun while I did it, and it had a weird, jazzy, almost cartoony feel to it, as it should do, actually, for the story. It's really good. That's great.
I just appreciate that he literally said, "I'm a darker person. I don't really do comedy."
Yeah, I'm like reading this. Like, is this about? Am I saying this about me? Is this me?
Yeah, no. Darklings are confused. Is this a Christian original?
I'm not a comedy person. I actually am a comedy person.
Yeah, I love comedy as well.
But I do tend to go deeper and darker.
We tend to go dramatic.
Dark comedy.
I'm going to send you one more quote of his. This one is actually on subject about Land Before Time.
I did a whole slew of Steven Spielberg animated movies, and they were all animated in the old Disney style by Don Bluth, who was a classic animator. Not the current style of animation you see from Disney and Pixar, of course. Though animation, I treat it seriously. Animation is unique. It's all continuous music. There's very little of the movie that works without music, and it all has to be very tightly timed to what the characters are doing. It has to be very exact. And in the story, even though it's animated, it had to have emotions in it. It had to do all the cinema things that I have to do in every movie.
So I felt like that quote was basically him saying like animation is just as it's just as taxing emotionally to animate for, maybe even more so than live action, because he's having to come up with all of that, like build it within himself. And again, like you said, you can only have so much movie in an animated movie without music behind it. Like you need that to bring the life to the film.
Right. So yes.
It's a different job, but I'm sure, I mean, I don't know. It amazes me that he could do so well in both styles,
Yeah, definitely. I think there's something to be said for like committing to the bit's an overused phrase, but like a serious film scorer, a guy who makes music for serious movies in a serious way.
Yeah. Titanic.
Does music for animated children's films and takes it just as seriously.
Just as seriously.
That's impressive. I respect that.
And that is probably why we talk about him all the time.
Yeah, but I feel like there are a lot of people in this industry who don't take it quite as seriously, who don't take themselves as seriously with it. And I wonder if that's not why you don't really hear a lot of those stories, because those movies aren't worth talking about because somebody dropped the ball because they didn't take it seriously enough.
Yeah, there's something to be said for taking it all as seriously as the next thing.
If everyone's like
treating it like something real,
like a real serious movie, not an animated kids film,
right? And
make it the best thing possible. That's how that's how you make billions of dollars, because you're Disney or Pixar. Man,
you have to you mean it. You have to like actually mean what you're doing and not phone it in just because it's animated.
Right. Do what you do.
Definitely did that
the best way you can.
The credit song, If We Hold On Together, was co-written by James Horner and Will Jennings. They also co-wrote My Heart Will Go On for Titanic. Actually, Will Jennings wrote a ton of stuff. He wrote a bunch of stuff for Steve Winwood, like Higher Love. He wrote Tears in Heaven for Eric Clapton.
Oh, okay.
He also wrote Where Are You Christmas from The Grinch.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was Will Jennings. So this was kind of a powerhouse duo, especially, knowing they did this. This was kind of a prototype. This was pre My Heart Will Go On. Our hearts weren't going on yet, but they soon would. About 10 years later. A little less. But the song was performed by Diana Ross, and it was released as the lead single from the soundtrack on November 5th, 1988. And it peaked at number 23 on the U.S. Adult Contemporary chart, which I didn't even realize, but it was a chart-topping single when the film was coming out.
What is that? There's always these like singles from these animated movies that like the whole world becomes obsessed with for a period of time.
Are you thinking of like K-pop Demon Hunter?
Yeah, that or like Frozen, Let It Go, like there's always these like chart topping songs.
There's some,
but but the most recent is K-pop.
Good music. Yeah.
It's insane to me. Where does that come from? What's that?
It's because like people love art, people love media, people love that.
I'm not dogging it. I'm just saying it's like it's a
phenomenon.
I was gonna say it's a phenomenon. Like it's a phenomenal thing, literally.
She actually included it on her 1991 album, The Force Behind the Power. So Diana Ross put this song on her album when all was said and done, because people liked it so much. There was also an expanded version of the soundtrack, which was released by Entrada Records on October 27th, 2020, which featured newly remastered versions of the music on the original album, as well as 15 minutes of previously unreleased material. So basically, a lot of the music from the scenes that were scrapped. So,
wow,
it's cool that you can go listen to that and imagine the movie that would have been if they had let Sharptooth be a little more mean for a little while longer.
I think like imagine putting all that effort into creating those scenes and then having them cut and quote unquote destroyed.
That's what I'm saying.
It's like all that work, all that inspiration. Just
it
swallowed
hurts
up
when you
void.
think about cuts from a live action film, because we know the hours that it goes into filming and just
but even that's
painstaking. But I agree, it's different. Like this is something that didn't exist before. It is created from scratch. Like you think about like Pixar doing bloopers from Toy Story. Like this didn't exist. It's not like this was cutting room floor scraps that they just took time and cut together. It didn't exist. They had to animate it separately. And to me, I don't know. There's just a certain caliber of to me, this is me being me, and I have, again, raging ADHD and neurodivergence, but like it takes a certain caliber of person in my mind to be an animator or to animate in film, especially to have been an animator all these years ago and be doing it by hand, even the early CG animation. Like it just takes a certain kind of person to have that like patience for the monotony of it.
Right.
And the diligence to do it. Like I respect it so much as an art form. I think it's so cool. You have to really dig deep into the well of yourself to do work like that, in my opinion, from my perspective.
I would have a hard time drawing the same thing over and over again. Just slightly different. Just
slightly
one frame different.
Any artist, I mean, in general, but gosh, it gets to me. It makes me emotional almost because it's this human effort. And even CG, there are people behind this, but like the human effort behind hand animating something has started to make me physically like feel emotional, because there's so much of themselves that people are putting into this.
And it's a increasingly lost art.
Mm-hmm. And while we're talking about lost things, I thought, again, it would be really fun to get very like info dumpy about these dinosaurs.
Yeah.
Because whenever I was a kid, this was, Jurassic Park hadn't happened yet. And I certainly hadn't watched it. I didn't watch Jurassic Park until I was much older. But this is the first time that I was like seeing dinosaurs on screen, like moving and existing in the world, And it fascinated me because I was so
when
interested.
did We're Back come out? Before this,
We're
right?
Back. It was, let me check.
Early 90s?
Yeah, I think so. 93.
Okay.
Yeah,
93.
We're Back was 93.
Right. So, was this the first, like, dinosaur movie?
I mean, yeah. Like, yes. I'm going to just say yes. I might be wrong, but I'll give it a quick Google. I never uncovered anything to the contrary. We're Back, and I loved We're Back. I loved those dinos, but it just... these dinosaurs were so special
There were
to me.
obviously, like, claymation... old-timey movies that were like from prehistoric era times, and there were dinosaurs and there were creatures and things like that. I'm not talking about that necessarily.
Not from prehistoric era times, but about prehistoric era times.
Did I say from?
Uh-huh.
Okay, well.
Yeah. We've uncovered some stuff in those caves.
Obviously,
there was some stop motion going on. Shadow puppets.
I'm thinking things like The Lost World with like Arthur Conan Doyle's based on his
That's
works,
fair.
From that's from 1925. Obviously Gertie the dinosaur, which was created by Winsor McCay.
Little Nemo
guy.
Not our only Little Nemo connection today.
So there, there's a list of films featuring dinosaurs. Let's see. Let's do animated. Oh, shoot. Goes way back when. I'm
glad we're checking because, I didn't look it up. I know it was the first time for me. Why it came out before I was born.
Literally doesn't even mention. What is this? This timeline's way off. 2024, 1939. Okay. Well, that's going to be impossible because it's not in order.
So was it the first dinosaur movie? No. Was it the first widely accessible dinosaur movie for many generations of people?
I'm going to say yeah.
I'm going to say that's true. I'm going to claim that. Yeah. I had said yeah earlier. So I was very ready to give this.
So you were right before it was cool. Okay.
No. I meant like I was wrong earlier. Like it may not have been the first dinosaur movie, but I was very ready to give it credit for that because again, it's the like collective imagination, I feel like, had not seen dinosaurs in this way yet when this movie came out. And again, I've wondered often throughout the years, like not only how this thing held up scientifically in the 40 years since it came out, but like how it held up to like 80s paleontology.
Right.
Like I've just been very curious. And a couple different articles have been written on the subject, both from Inverse and Business Insider. So I pulled like a ton of stuff from those.
Sweet.
And did some of my own digging as well. We make a lot of digging puns.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, it's usually
so many.
It's not usually like archaeology, paleontology.
Yeah, this time it's like paleontology and archaeology. So just let me have
usually
it.
Just grave digging.
But it turns out that this film actually sort of started at a scientific deficit, which wasn't the thing that I hoped to read. Because like you kind of hinted at earlier, there would have been no way for all of these types of dinosaurs to coexist. Not for reasons of racism, but because the timeline just doesn't add up.
They just didn't exist at the same time.
And I'll go in order of, I'll say youngest to oldest. So most recent dino to oldest dino.
Oh, most recent to oldest? Okay.
Mm-hmm. Youngest to oldest, what I said. Sarah, the Triceratops, would have been the closest living dinosaur to us at roughly 68 million years ago. This was during the late Cretaceous period. And for some reason, like knowing she was the most recent dino made like her stubbornness like easier to swallow. Like I'm thinking of it like, okay, toddler, like you're the youngest one. So yeah, that's how you act.
Sure.
Kind of funny. Ducky was a Parasaurolophus. I'm going to say it again. Parasaurolophus. I said it like 16 times when I wrote it down, and Parasaurolophus.
I don't have it in front of me, so I can't.
Parasaurolophus.
You lost me. There's too many.
There's too many U's. There's too many R's.
I can't. Send it to me.
Yeah. You can leave this in, Mason.
Hit me with
this
that
is me trying to say. And the thing is, when I was a kid, I could name all this shit. I had no problem with it.
Parasaurolophus.
See? Not as easy as I made
I'm
it
not
sound,
I like dinosaurs. I was never a dinosaur kid, so I don't know shit about dinosaurs.
God, I was a dinosaur kid. But this is the type of dinosaur that Ducky was. I've said it like 12 different ways, so you can just pick your favorite ways.
It's a Parasaurolophus.
Ducky not only probably couldn't swim, but she would have existed about 76 million years ago. So also during the late Cretaceous period. So it's possible, again, these Cretaceous dinosaurs could have had some overlap, but they still, their heyday was still separate, sort of.
So her swimming was just sort of a visual pun of being like Ducky, like a duck-billed dinosaur kind of
I'll
deal?
get there. I got a lot to say about Ducky. Petrie was a pteranodon.
Not a pterodactyl.
Pteranodon.
No, the P is silent, like pterodactyl.
It probably is, yeah.
Yes,
should I look that up
absolutely,
too?
100%.
I did so much dino research, but the one thing I didn't do was look up pronunciation because I was just excited about the other stuff.
Well, that makes sense.
I was so thrilled.
Look up the unless it's Japanese names, I don't worry about it too much because I do not want to offend.
Pteranodon. You're right. The P is silent.
I am correct.
Makes sense. P is silent. Pteranodon. Yeah, I guessed that too.
Nobody gives me credit.
Go with it. But he's a pteranodon who would have been soaring through skies about 88 million years ago, which was also during the late Cretaceous period.
I see.
But like earlier in the late Cretaceous period.
Sure.
And for kicks, these Cretaceous dinosaurs are the only ones that would have actually had to worry about sharp teeth because the T-Rex is also a Cretaceous.
I was going to ask about the T-Rex
dinosaur. Okay. So Littlefoot is an Apatosaurus. And if you're out there like me hollering about Brontosauri and Brachiosauri, stand by. Littlefoot would have existed about 150 million years ago in the late Jurassic period.
I got that pulled up.
Apatosaurus.
The Apatosaurus. The Apatosaurus. I'm like, what's up? Explain it to me. Make it make sense.
Apatosaurus. And Spike.
Apatosaurus. A pat on the back source.
The oldest dino of the bunch would have been hanging out a few million years before Littlefoot, also in the late Jurassic period. So they are the oldest dinos, Spike and Littlefoot.
I see.
The oldest of the group. But yeah, I was kind of disappointed about it because I was like, yeah, I mean, it makes sense that they would have wanted to animate all these guys together. And it also makes sense that they probably wouldn't have interacted.
But did they know, though, that all of these different dinosaurs back in the 80s? Was this common knowledge?
Yes, I think that this was pretty common knowledge by the 80s because a lot of this was coming out in the late 1800s, early 1900s. They were kind of dating. And I'm not certain. I could be wrong about that, but I'm pretty sure that they did know. It was just more convenient for the story and it looked better, the diversity of these animals on screen. Like I probably would have made the same call. You know what I mean? Like I think it was the right call to have done. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the point wasn't necessarily to be historically accurate. It was to tell a story about dinosaurs.
Right. And speaking of that, the Business Insider article consulted a paleontologist about the plate shifting geography and the famine and everything that's going on in this movie and found that it likely wasn't even a thing during the time period that the film would be depicting with these dinosaurs like that. It just doesn't all quite flow. But they're still, they're meant to be here in North America and that's just not what the geography was necessarily like.
Oh, they're meant to be in North America?
Yes.
So they were heading west? So California is the great...
The Great Valley is somewhere over there.
Why?
Follow the sun, follow the horizon.
These people. These Californians.
Yeah. Always putting California on a pedestal. Huh?
These elites.
Thomas Cullen, who is a paleontologist and postdoctoral research scientist at the Field Museum of Natural History, said that there was no particular record of Great Famine or other environmental catastrophes in the late Cretaceous period that would have caused like a large migration, like the one that they're talking about. And the research also suggested that like the tar pit that they get stuck in, like all that stuff would have been basically non-existent. Like that just wasn't a thing in the landscape at the time or the place. It would have come into existence a lot later.
So like tar pits in general would have happened later?
Yeah.
That's a real thing?
Yeah. Isn't that weird? That's weird to
think
about.
What was a tar pit? Did you do any deep dive research?
I didn't do any deep dive on that.
We can do it for next time, I guess.
If you want to make a note, you should pick that up in part 2 and see.
Just see what,
where, how, and why that formed.
WTF tar pits.
Tar pits. Or should we save that for Never-Ending Story? I don't know.
That was just different kind of tar pit. That was just quicksand, right?
Yeah, I guess so.
I can't wait to cover that movie. Oh, it's going to break me in half. Mm-hmm. If this one doesn't first, then I'll be broken into fours. I'll be quartered. Drawn and quartered. Mm-hmm. We should have a summer of drawn and quarterings and just do like 4 heavy hitters in a row.
Just the worst ones we can think of. Well, we're already knocking this one out, so there's not much else that can come from me.
What about volcanoes?
I didn't deep dive volcanoes either.
Okay.
But obviously we have some in North America and they would have been active.
Yeah, but I've always... Art has
You're just like, tell me about geological phenomena.
Tell me about the things you did in research.
I don't want to hear about the Apatosaurus, please.
No. I want to know why all the dinosaur art in the history of human existence depicts dinosaurs with volcanoes. Probably, this is an uneducated guess, but probably because of all like the tectonic plates, like everything's shifting, things are moving. That's a lot of what did it and caused it, or these volcanic eruptions. Like, it makes sense that just the landscape was shifting a lot. But not at the time that this movie would have taken place. Well,
yes, not in the area at the time. Correct. And the famine was something that they focused on. Like, it wasn't like there was a famine, there was a shortage of, like, there wouldn't have been, that sort of like weather pattern,
were they trying to say that was the creation of the Grand Canyon?
In the movie? I don't know.
When the earth splits in half?
Maybe.
Wow, that's something to talk about in part 2. Whoa.
Are you taking notes? You better be taking notes, because
I got all the mental
I got
notes
nothing. I don't have Grand Canyon one time.
These wheels are turning. Oh, my little feet. They're walking.
Oh, God. But we talked about Ducky. Let's go back to Ducky. We were talking about Ducky earlier. Ducky is a hadrosaur, but there is no evidence that she would have been like amphibious, like she's depicted in the movie. The inverse article said that in the movies, the hadrosaurs are known as swimmers or big mouths or duckbills, but they weren't duck-like animals at all. And in fact, they were probably some of the worst swimmers among dinosaur kind. They didn't swim. But they had this like wide beak that kind of looked like a duck beak. And so they, for the movie, were like, hey, it's like if it's beaked like a duck, then
they'd probably do a swim like a duck. I'm gonna Google, can platypi swim?
Yes. I'm gonna answer that for you. They can, right? They're also venomous. Just the males? They are exceptional. Just the females. Exceptional swimmers. Platypi, yes. Ducky is a hadrosaur, which is a dinosaur. The platypi are descendants of what dinosaur? You can't answer that question. I can't. That's true. Could be the hadrosaur. It could be. But I guess, okay, so backing up, from what I read, these paleontologists that researched this stuff, hadrosaurs earned this reputation as part of this like larger myth, I guess, because I think science as a whole sort of did see them as swimmers or assume that or whatever for a longer time. Yeah. And that was dispelled like way before the 80s. So it had been maybe a theory at one time. And then, so I don't think it was like an invention for the movie necessarily, but it had been debunked, it had been disproven by this point. I see. And another idea also for this reason was that herbivores, like if you're an herbivore, if you're eating plants, then you must have had either physical defenses like horns or spines, or you lived in the water because there were too many predators for a herbivore to just exist. Mm-hmm. And because the hadrosaur didn't have the horns and the spines and that kind of stuff, the assumption was, okay, well, you must have just been really good at hiding to be able to evolve. But these paleontologists said, quoting, "It turns out that making lots of babies and having them grow to very large proportions very quickly works okay as a life strategy too." So yeah, that's just rabbits. Survival of not even the fittest, but that's just rabbits. Yeah, the most able to procreate. Self-defense
Just they're fast.
But they're fast, and there are a lot of them.
Thumper.
Yeah, the more
thump them out.
The more, the merrier. In that case, that really does a lot in terms of
quiverful.
Does a lot in terms of extending your genetic line, is what I was saying.
Yeah. Another
hate that comparison.
Big question: how many dinosaurs were amphibious?
I don't know. I don't know how many dinosaurs were amphibious.
Because I
guess
feel
I should
like
be taking notes on what dino stuff to look up.
To have a dinosaur at all that swam, like you're saying,
right?
Like
it's
either,
like
either
one
you're a
type
land
of dinosaur,
or you're a water dinosaur.
Yeah, I don't know.
Please correct us, because we have no idea what we're talking about.
There are plenty
you know
of
more than me. I don't know anything.
Amphibious
about
animals.
dinosaurs.
Okay. Do you want me to just do a Google?
Do a Google.
They're amphibious dinosaurs. Yes, amphibians coexisted with dinosaurs.
Oh, so that's why there are like frogs
still
in
here.
this movie. I was wondering why there was a frog.
We talk about all the time how crocodiles, these are amphibians. They are dinosaurs, so they coexisted. So it was these. It says ancient amphibians, like crocodile-sized something that I can't pronounce, and early ancestors of modern frogs and salamanders lived alongside dinosaurs. So it's like it's a whole thing. Amphibians versus dinosaurs, like they're completely different groups of animals.
Does this include turtles? Because we were just talking about how old turtles are. Are turtles amphibians? They have to be, right?
Hang on. I gotta open another tab. We need more tabs.
Proof that I don't know anything about anything ever.
And I have guesses to these, but I don't want to say them out of turn. Turtle, not amphibians. Okay.
What are they? Reptiles?
Let's see. They are reptiles.
Let's just have a whole. Listen, we'll table this. We'll come back to do a mid-series episode where we just Google random ass dinosaur questions on air.
I do love that. I would just do a mini-series
about your
questions that we want to know about dinosaurs
that you could Google yourself, but don't feel
this
like
episode
it.
will answer some of my own personal questions, as well as people in my life, things that I just needed to know.
Let's just do it's a dinosaur Q&A for Google. We'll just hang out.
That should just be the next thing we do on Instagram Live, where we're just like typing into Google and answering. Like anybody can just go type it in, but no, come do it with us. It'll be more fun. I'm glad you brought up turtles. I'm glad you brought them up. They're coming soon. Just pin in that. Turtles.
Okay. I love turtles.
One more thing to say.
Protectors
that's kind
of
of
innocent.
Something from the film that wasn't exactly scientifically accurate. The inverse article was really explicit, saying that basically the fight between Littlefoot's mother and the T-Rex was really unrealistic, and not only because they lived in different eras of time, because again, T-Rex is Jurassic, Littlefoot, I was gonna say, the Apatosaurus is T-Rex is Cretaceous, Littlefoot is Jurassic.
I see.
And that's something that I know now.
Oh, so Jurassic Park was also wrong. Well, I guess it isn't. They just meant Dinosaur Park. They didn't mean like Jurassic.
Oh, lordy. So in reality, this article said their environment, like an Apatosaurus, they are heavy. Like, you don't mess with the 30-ton animal. That's stupid. It's going to destroy you.
Absolutely.
They said one hit from that tail and you are decapitated, or you're close enough. Like, your neck is shattered. Yeah. You're not coming back from that.
Would have broken the spine of that T-Rex. Done.
And they said if you put a Rex and like a large Apatosaur in the same room, it would be very unlikely that the Rex would want to make a go for that animal, because it was like smarter than that. It had more self-preservational instinct. They also said that it probably, like a T-Rex probably wouldn't be chasing like dinosaur hatchlings. That just probably wouldn't happen.
Too small,
not worth the effort. It's just not going to be worth, like one little bite, one little chomp. It's done.
A whale's not going to go after one shrimp.
Mm-mm.
It's going to go after an entire school of shrimp.
Right. And that's kind of the T-Rex. It just wouldn't be. It was not very scientifically accurate. It wouldn't hold a grudge like that. It would be focused on food, and they wouldn't be enough food to worry about anyway.
So the hatchlings are too small. The Apatosaurus is too big.
Mm-hmm. Correct.
I see.
Correct. And then again, another dinosaur. This one is very interesting to me, actually. I don't know if Darklings will probably be fully aware, but there's the whole thing about the feathers in terms of like dinosaurs and scientific accuracy. In 1986, Robert Baker published the Dinosaur Heresies, which argued on the basis of their similarities with birds that many dinosaurs were warm-blooded and they were covered in feathers. And the fossil record later proved him right, showing a wealth of feathered dinosaurs and like a very clear link between prehistoric beasts and modern birds. So the dinosaurs of Land Before Time are, they're featherless on screen, which would be probably inaccurate, more or less. Like, we don't know the extent of the feathers and how many and whatever, but there is a moment, this article said, of exceptional scientific prescience, which in the early scenes of the first movie, this movie that we're talking about today, there's a pair of like elderly vulture-like pterosaurs that attend Littlefoot's hatching, and they have white hair. Like,
oh, nice.
Feathers.
Okay,
so,
yeah. Have you seen
some dinosaurs with feathers in
the
this movie?
re-edited? I'm sure it's AI, but somebody released the raptor scene from Jurassic Park, and it's like realistic, like they're covered in feathers and they have like the bird beak.
No,
and
that's
everything.
cool though.
It's cool looking.
I would like to see that.
I am sure it's AI, but it's still a really cool video that obviously somebody just did for the hell of it, not to like. They weren't creating original content and calling it, like art. They were just saying, this is what it would have looked like.
This would have been like.
That's a fair use of AI, I think.
If there is any fair use of AI, and I'm still, jury's still out about that for me.
If there is, but it was cool. It was cool. And then this there was like a dinosaur expo thing in Biloxi last summer.
Yeah.
We went to that. It was really cool. But they had like a whole raptor section, which I'm sure someone's gonna go, those weren't actually raptors, those were this instead. I have no idea, but whatever that type of dinosaur was, there was a whole section of it, and there were different like species of that, I guess, that evolved over time, and some of them were fully feathered. Some were smaller and had like down looking feathers. Others were featherless, and it was just kind of like saying, these are the different possible types of this creature that existed. We don't know exactly what it was or what it would have evolved like over time, but these are the most realistic examples we have. And I think
they got really feathers.
Cool. And they got feathers, but it's so. I know I read something one time about why artists originally said, we're going to make dinosaurs look like reptiles and like amphibians and such. Like, we're going to go reptile with it. There was a reason for that. It had to do with bone structure, but they were mistaken. Or at least we now believe they were mistaken, because we don't actually know still. All we can look at is the scientific evidence that suggests they were actually more bird-like than reptile-like. But it's just such an interesting history.
There is this artist, and I should shout him out. I wish I knew the name of the Instagram, but I've followed him for years, and he is dedicated to doing like specific, like as accurate as possible renderings of dinosaurs. It's like something like he gets commissioned to do it for like textbooks and different things, I guess. And I followed him for years because it is fascinating to me.
That's cool.
Like, and applying new science over time, it's really cool.
That's really cool.
I should look them up. But yeah, I mean, just it is so cool to me. There's a post that I've seen circulate like of like medieval art depicting like lions, and it's like people making art about lions who had only heard lions described but never seen one. And it's just so funny to me, like, because it's like a witness sketch, like a crime, because it's just like you're describing something and then this person just has to like sketch what they think or what they see. And again, if I think art and artists in general are impressive, oh my God, to just be able to like pluck that out of somebody's head in their description and say, okay, this is what this looks like. And I feel like that's what so much of what artists who are trying to depict these kind of creatures have to do, because it's like, there's this piece of evidence, there's this idea, and then stir all that together and see what comes out.
That's what we talked about with The Last Unicorn, because like the artist depictions and the stories and the tales and everything about unicorns, it was all word of mouth from these travelers that were just like, that saw it.
I swear.
Yeah, you know what?
Anybody see a leprechaun? Say yeah.
Everybody see a leprechaun? Say yeah. I just a couple years ago I got Aria a calendar of medieval cats because they have human faces. And it's scary. It's demonic, but they're hilarious looking. They just made me think of that. medieval cats, because they were literally just medieval art with
medieval art in general is really cool and interesting. But yeah, that just the idea that like this thing may or may not exist. Here we go drawing it.
I really think that it had to do with they looked at the bones that they had assembled of a complete dinosaur like 100 years ago, and they were like, okay, well, we can surmise that this bone here is missing and this bone here is missing. And this is what, if we compiled,
if
we used this type of creature and we said this goes here, and then it was going to have this kind of mouth. And then they just kind of said, oh, it's a giant crocodile.
You wait.
It wasn't.
The funniest thing that I think I learned as far as like what was accurate about this film is that the film's most pivotal emotional hinge point likely wouldn't have even been a thing if they had followed scientific fact, because sauropods, that's the family of dinosaurs that Apatosaurus belonged to, are thought to have laid eggs in mass and left them, much like turtles, that we know and love.
Hey.
They would have left them to like hatch and develop independently. One of these articles, there was this guy named Josh Hutchinson, not to be confused with Josh Hutcherson. Josh Hutchinson is a professor of evolutionary biomechanics at the University of London's Royal Veterinary College. And he said, "We now know that sauropods were not good parents. They just buried their nests, abandoned them, and the babies would hatch on their own and be pretty able to fend for themselves right away." He said it was a very tough life being a Littlefoot in reality.
Oh, wow.
And Petrie probably would have grown up the same way, because Pteranodon, that's what I said? Yeah. Those did the same thing, where they would leave a nest of eggs and go on their merry way.
And it makes sense.
And they're also thought to have, like, the Petries of the world were thought to have like known how to fly instinctually, like they weren't taught, like we think of birds and some types of animals of like being kind of taught how to fly. But they kind of just have it at instinct, and they can fly basically like very soon after they're hatched, because it's a survival thing.
Wow. Yeah.
But it's not all bad. They didn't get everything wrong. Hutchinson also said that he felt that an important accuracy of the film, and one that was contemporary to 80s paleontological research in the 80s, was the depiction of dinosaurs as social animals and not like violent lizards, basically. He said that they got some details more right than previous depictions of dinosaurs had, and it showed that dinosaurs weren't just like big, dumb reptiles, but they were very like advanced, sophisticated animals that had social systems and hierarchies and all that kind of stuff.
Makes sense.
While we're at it, just this is something that has bothered me for years. I just feel like here on this little show, we need to clear up the whole like Brontosaurus, Brachiosaurus, Apatosaurus thing.
Yeah, let's do it.
Just like once and for all. I just wanted to understand it. Bear with me, because it gets kind of...
Because I just assumed Brontosaurus my whole life. And
me too.
I saw the Netflix description of Apatosaurus, and I was like, what the fuck is that?
Yeah, I kind of did the same thing. I did it years ago, though. I'd seen Apatosaurus, and then I like briefly looked it up, and then I didn't fully understand what I read or like get a clear picture. So luckily I taught it to myself, and now I get to teach it to all of you, because Brontosaurus, like when I was a kid and I had like the figure, he was in our photo shoot, he's behind me somewhere, my little guy, it's not even meant to be Littlefoot, it's just this green, I thought Brontosaurus, but Apatosaurus more than likely that I had, and the only name I associated with it was Brontosaurus. And then I remember hearing like Brachiosaurus at different times as well, and I didn't necessarily think that they were synonymous, but I didn't know what differentiated them.
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah, like I said, when I was growing up, I sort of thought that long neck just meant Brontosaurus. And then again, I started hearing Brachiosaurus a little bit, and now everywhere you look, like you said, that Netflix description, if you ask what kind of dinosaur Littlefoot is, pretty much every single source is going to say an Apatosaurus.
Yeah.
All three of these guys belong to a family of dinosaurs called sauropods, like I said. And it's all about the naming and like classifications of these specific types of sauropod. So the naming of these guys went down during the infamous Bone Wars of the late 1800s. Do you know about the Bone Wars?
No, but I want to.
So
sounds cool as hell.
During the Bone Wars, there were these rival paleontologists who were racing to discover and name dinosaurs. And I'm sure there were a lot of other paleontologists that were involved, but the ones that I read about were Othniel Charles Marsh and Edward Drinker Cope. So these two guys were like racing each other. Drinker Cope.
Drinker.
Edward Drinker Cope.
What was the first guy's name?
Othniel Charles Marsh.
Othniel?
Othniel.
What is his name?
Othniel. Mm-hmm.
My middle name's
And again,
Drinker.
this is the late 1800s, and they are, in their career as paleontologists. So
they have to have
named
weird
in
names.
the mid 1800s, I suppose.
Sure.
They were named, and then they were naming things, and they were doing that at like a very, very fast pace.
That's why dinosaurs have such weird names, because this was just the norm for these guys with weird ass names.
And of course, again, it's coming from ancient languages, Greek, a lot of them Latin. Like a lot of our English naming conventions go with animals. But they were naming these new species so quickly, and they were sometimes naming them from incomplete skeletons just so they could get their name published before the other guy.
Right.
So it was called the Bone Wars because it was just this back and forth. And in 1877, the Apatosaurus was discovered and named. So it was genus Apatosaurus, species Ajax. And Apatosaurus translates to deceptive lizard in Greek. If Brontosaurus is thunder lizard, Apatosaurus is deceptive lizard. And Marsh had found this Apatosaurus skeleton, but there was no complete skull found with it, and it was also a juvenile, like it was a young Apatosaurus. And then 2 years later, he found a much larger, fully grown, more complete skeleton, and he thought that this was like a completely different dinosaur, or at least different enough. And he named this the Brontosaurus excelsius. So it was a genus Brontosaurus, separate from Apatosaurus, and species Excelsius. Again, thunder lizard. And for some reason, it isn't clear
Thunder
how...
Lizard Power Rangers icon, emblem thing, whatever they're called?
A thunder lizard.
Thunder Lizard.
But for some reason, and it's still not completely immediately clear how, because really the only thing we can trace it back to is like museum plaques and like emblems and things at museums labeling it this way. But Brontosaurus became one of the most recognizable dinosaur names.
Yeah.
You got T-Rex, Brontosaurus, Triceratops, like these are the dinos that we know. And for whatever reason, Brontosaurus made that cut. It was just the timing, because this was like very, very late 1800s. A lot of, I guess, museums are being developed. There are traveling exhibits, which I have to, like, I didn't read that explicitly, but I have to assume that some of it came from that because it was so widespread. Mm-hmm. And then I feel like there are certain areas, like, please, listeners, let us know what you called the animal that Littlefoot is, because around here it was Brontosaurus.
It was Brontosaurus. So
that was it.
Those are the three animals, or the three dinosaurs I could name plus the pterodactyl. I think there were four dinosaurs I could ever name throughout my life at any given point.
And it was
this
those
is
guys.
The four.
Right. Yeah. And it's just weird to me how
That's
that,
so
again, language and how that spreads and whatever. But Brontosaurus, it stuck. So this was 1879-ish, 1880, Brontosaurus excelsius. And again, the head was missing, but he thought that since this was like the biggest and most robust animal that had really been discovered to that point, that it would need a really strong head. Like that was just his assumption. And so he modeled one off of a Camarasaurus, which was a different sauropod that they had documented. So he was like, it would be close to this. So good enough. And so basically put a Camarasaurus head on a Brontosaurus and said, here you go. That's what that is. And so museums started displaying skeletons like this or reconstructions or whatever as Brontosauri. So then for decades, there are museums claiming this is a Brontosaurus. Then in 1903, again, keep in mind now, it's over 120 years ago, paleontologist Elmer Riggs compared the fossils of the Apatosaurus and the Brontosaurus and concluded that a Brontosaurus wasn't different enough from an Apatosaurus especially because this Apatosaurus ajax wasn't even fully grown. Like it was a juvenile, and so these are not enough differences, and this one is a baby, and they're so similar. And so he decided that the Apatosaurus ajax and the Brontosaurus excelsius were close enough that they should have the same genus, but not so close that they would be the same species. So he reassigned them so that we would have Apatosaurus ajax and Apatosaurus excelsius, which would have been the Brontosaurus. Oh. And so they stayed named like that for a century. 2 different species of the genus Apatosaurus. And Brontosaurus became what would be called like a junior synonym. Like it was like, this used to be called that, but it's called this now kind of deal. Okay. And it feels like science switched, but again, the public just didn't. There was a Redditor that I was referencing a lot of their stuff because they had talked a lot about this debate, and they said basically if museums hadn't labeled it Brontosaurus for that like 20-year time span, we would have only ever thought of it as an Apatosaurus because it got that new name so soon after in 1903. It's basically like it was like that the whole time. It was only a couple decades that it wasn't, but that's you can see how fast.
So it's the
something
same.
Like that
it's the same dinosaur.
Same dinosaur. They thought. Hold your horses.
Oh, okay.
Hold your Apatosaurus. But again, something made Brontosaurus be the thing that caught on in popular imagination, and then again, so 100 years, people are still calling it Brontosaurus. It's the kids' movies, the books, everything else that we saw. All of that was basing it, and in my mind, it's probably things where it's like, well, so-and-so named it that, and we want it to be the same animal, and we want it to look this, and so it just kind of piggybacked its way through the whole century in media, I mean. Right. But to make matters even more confusing, over the last 10 years or so, there is new evidence emerging that a Brontosaurus and an Apatosaurus may actually be different animals after all. Because there was this really like wide, large scale study done, because now we have computers. These guys before were just kind of doing it like hand comparing, contrasting different research, different photographs of different, specimens over a lot of time. Mm-hmm. But in 2015, it was like a big, aggregated computer assisted study of skeletal features across all kinds of different sauropods. Because there are like 15 or I don't even know how many. There are a ton of different types of sauropods. Like it's not just these guys. Yeah. But the analysis concluded that the Apatosaurus ajax and the Apatosaurus excelsius, or the Brontosaurus, have like a lot of differences, probably so many differences that they shouldn't be considered the same genus. Like if you start applying the same standards that you apply to the rest of the family of sauropods, because there are other sauropods that are more closely aligned that have different genus. So it's like, this study was like, they probably shouldn't have the same genus actually. So the Apatosaurus ajax is like a lot bigger than what would be the Brontosaurus. Its neck angle is different. There are a lot of different like bumps on the bones, and like the Redditor that I was reading this information from, they described it like they're closely related. They're not lions and tigers. They're lions and cheetahs.
Oh, okay.
And I was like, that made it click for me a little more. I was like, okay, animals that I know, animals that I can like can understand and see. So it's like they're close, but they're different animals.
Interesting. Yeah. Because I thought for a second you were going to say, like, it's like the Roman and Greek gods. Like, they have the same gods, they're just different names. But, for not a long time, you might have not been clear that it's the same.
Which is which. Yeah.
That just gives me a good idea for, like, there needs to be, like, a long, like, comic series or, like, a graphic novel that, like, you find out the Greek gods and the Roman gods are actually separate entities. And they come head to head against each other.
Yeah, that'd be a lot. That'd be
I don't know enough
like
about
a fight between an Apatosaurus and a Brontosaurus.
Yeah, you said it.
God. And I will say, not every paleontologist agrees on this study. Like some think that they need more evidence than just this study that compared these guys. But today it is a lot more common to see both names used in scientific discussion. It's really funny to me that the public held on to this for so long that they are kind of right again.
That's insane. Yeah. When I looked it up, it said that they're in the same family, but I didn't look into it that much because I figured we'd talk about it. But
and here we are talking about it. And you might have already known this, but I tossed it in there for, my baby self, or even like, I don't know, when I was a teenager, I remember hearing Brachiosaurus more. And I was like, well, what? I mean, not Brontosaurus, like, you know what I mean?
I know
like
Brachiosaurus, but I couldn't have told you what it was.
Right. Or if how different they are. And so I looked it up. And Brachiosaurus, again, sauropod, different sauropod. It has very different characteristics. Like an Apatosaurus would be like, and even the Brontosaurus, they have like a neck that's mostly forward. Their shoulders are lower than their hips. So they're kind of coming at it from like a lower angle.
Oh, yeah.
Right. They have a really long tail, like with the whip. Like they did get that, in the movie it's meant to be. An Apatosaurus, Brontosaurus, whatever they intended for it to be, it has that build. Littlefoot and his mom. Like the body is really stocky and they're very, very heavy. They're just like huge. Massive animals. Whereas a Brachiosaurus, they have longer front legs than back legs, and their shoulders are higher than their hips. So instead of being this like coming at it from a lower angle, they're more like this, more like a giraffe stance. And they have a shorter tail, and they did more of like they ate out of the trees rather than like lower.
I think I would rather be one of those.
Yeah, a Brachiosaurus.
Yeah, I don't want my shoulders lower than my hips.
Hey, that's how they were built, and it worked out for them. It does sound incredibly uncomfortable as person.
Yeah, no, it'd be terrible. But, as a human being, I'd rather have longer.
From the experiences that you have?
Yeah, from my human experience, I'd rather have a longer front.
I'm pretty sure the Apatosaurs are pretty comfy in their bodies.
Do you think there's any creatures
that figured out.
Just hate the way that they're built? They hate the way they're shaped.
Kalins? Mainly just Kalins?
Humans in general, mostly. I wonder. Yeah.
This is hella uncomfortable. I wish I hadn't evolved like this.
This a platypus.
This sucks. But yeah, so both of these dinosaurs lived in North America at the same time and in the same ecosystem. And paleontologists point to these dinosaurs as being like a prime example of niche partitioning, which is like niche partitioning is when two very closely related like species can kind of coexist, because the Apatosaurus was taking vegetation from like the ground level, like bushes and whatever, and the Brachiosaurus was doing tree canopy eating. And so they didn't compete directly for food, groundwork and tree work, and they didn't compete for it, so they could both continue to thrive, basically.
Wow.
So yeah, at least two different dudes. It sounds like possibly three. And regardless, again, Littlefoot is most closely resembling that Apatosaurus thing versus the Brontosaurus, if there is such a thing as Brontosaurus.
I'm glad somebody knows.
And of course, those were differentiating between the Brontosaurus and the Apatosaurus, really Brontosaurus and Brachiosaurus. To differentiate further between the Apatosaurus and the Brontosaurus, the Apatosaurus is always going to be like the heavier, stockier, thicker dinosaur. They were like more robust skeleton, and again, really, really big. If we are considering Brontosaurus to be a separate sauropod in the family, they would have like a slightly lighter build. Their neck was narrower. They had like different vertebrae and shoulder bones, and what I read was that they had somewhat more graceful proportions than an Apatosaurus. So it's almost like a Brontosaurus is kind of somewhere in between a Brachiosaurus and an Apatosaurus.
Okay. Yeah. All right. That makes sense to me.
So much.
A lot.
Yeah. But I'm glad I know. Like, I feel like I can rest easier now. Yeah. I really needed to better understand that. And so you're welcome.
30 years of wondering why.
Yeah. It was too long, frankly. Too long. And I just needed to know. But to quote the Business Insider article, our evolutionary biomechanics friend Hutchinson also says that the film, which again came out before Jurassic Park, was one of the first examples of dinosaurs being depicted not in that classical style of Fantasia, but with a more modern understanding, like about their social needs and the way that they worked in groups and all that stuff, which again still shapes our imagination of dinosaurs today. Because I definitely think of dinosaurs more in that way. And I'm sure if you go back a couple generations and ask my grandparents, like if they ever thought about dinosaurs, how they imagined them, it would be completely different because of films like this. Hutchinson said that they thought the movie bridged the gap between like Fantasia and Jurassic Park and made it, a little closer to what we hope.
Right.
Not necessarily even hope, but what they think dinosaurs behave like. I'm out here like, I hope they had emotions and thoughts. I hope they cared about each other.
They probably did more, than we think.
I always assume that animals do. You know, all of my animals, when I speak for them,
especially
have all
talking
those same
animals,
feelings.
you have to think they have empathy.
Sure.
All the usual things.
Yeah. Because if you can talk and you don't have empathy, what good are you?
Yeah, Elon Musk. I mean,
I think that it introduced people to a new way of looking at dinosaurs, said this guy, and thinking about them less as like screaming horrors that can only be fought, and instead the dinosaurs in the movie, broadly speaking, are intelligent and social. And again, just behaving in ways that movies that depicted them previously hadn't shown them before.
Yeah.
And again, yeah, I think it's true for everything we anthropomorphize. Pixar knows that. Pixar knows that very well.
Yeah.
And again, yeah, a little empathy can go a long way.
I guess the difference is now we can speculate that they had culture in some way.
Yeah.
You know, that's an important thing. You know, we were studying like biology in college. It was
packs and herds and mentalities. How they move, how they exist in the world
like
together.
They were just animals, and we can study animals, and they all function in very similar ways.
Right. But yeah, we can look at groups of like, you know, monkeys or groups of lions, or how do they behave? Groups of wolves, and what's their
lions
what are their social behaviors?
But they still have a social structure, and they all work a very specific way. They're not just mindless eaters.
Yes.
You know, most things aren't.
Right. And I think
dinosaurs
it's good.
Probably weren't either.
Doesn't seem like it.
That's just politicians.
Oh God.
Oh, buddy.
I promised myself I wouldn't soapbox that today, but I don't know why.
Yeah, because you've been catching some shit.
People are mad at you. People have big feelings
for being anti something nobody will ever be, except for the 1%.
Hey, cheers to you. 0.01%. Cheers to you, listener out there, whether you agree with me or you don't, although I think you should. I don't mind talking about it, but I wanted to talk about dinos today. That's all.
Sorry, I'm the one bringing it today. I'll take the heat. Go ahead, spew your volcanic ash. Let's hear it.
But, okay, so Thomas Cullen, one of the other paleontologists that was interviewed for these articles, said that he still thought the movie was great overall, even if it wasn't perfectly accurate. And he remembered being influenced by it as a young child in terms of like his future career and everything. And I bet that there is a whole cohort of young millennial kids that went into paleontology or archaeology specifically because of Land Before Time.
Absolutely. Just like Fern Gully had an effect on environmentalists.
Yeah. I just want to go into a museum or go into wherever a lab, I don't know, wherever a paleontologist is at and be like, what did the Land Before Time mean to you? Like, everything. I just want to know.
Literally everything. The same thing that Goosebumps meant for me.
Right.
Although I'm not nearly on the same level.
Inspiration
as paleontologists
can come from anywhere. And again, these movies that we were watching when we were so little. It is truly impossible to describe how much of our self and our worldview is shaped through media like this. But we've spent 120 some odd episodes trying with hopefully more to come.
Like, let's not just be an Are You Afraid of the Dark podcast. Let's talk about everything.
And that decision changed everything. Changed the course of everything for everybody.
The history of the world forever.
First up in our voice cast is the narrator, Pat Hingle, who also voiced Rooter, the dinosaur who comforts Littlefoot, like in the middle of the movie when they realized, oh, hey, we need somebody to tell him it's going to be okay.
We need a comforting presence.
We need a comforting presence because we lost that. So who better than the narrator? Pat's career began in the 50s. And he was still acting right up until his passing in 2009. Wow. He was one of those folks who was just on everything through the 60s, 70s, 80s. There were Westerns, just everything. Batman and Robin, The Twilight Zone, Andy Griffith. He even played a mechanic in an episode of Dawson's Creek.
No way. Wow.
Mm-hmm. That was fun for me to find out.
So I graduated high school in 2009. So the year he died was the year my life was just getting started.
Weird. Mm-hmm. Sad and weird. So
Circle
Gabriel
of life,
Damon
man.
is our Littlefoot. And you must have said this at the time. I didn't remember when I was reading it, but he was also the voice of Nemo in Little Nemo Adventures in Slumberland. Yeah. So we have already talked about him before, but as a reminder, he was also on stuff like Punky Brewster, Good Morning Miss Bliss, General Hospital, Who's the Boss, Growing Pains, Star Trek, ER, Baywatch, an episode of Erie, Indiana. Mm-hmm. He was also Spot in the 1992 version of the Newsies, which is fun. I don't think he came back for any of the sequels, but I guess that makes sense because like voices change. A lot of times young male actors can't reprise their roles very long. But he retired from acting in 2006, and according to one source I saw, and maybe you have more insight on this, he now sells real estate in San Luis Obispo, California.
Oh yeah, no, I don't remember
maybe
everything
a darkling on the
we
ground
talked about.
Can confirm.
Yeah, if anybody knows him, ask him what's up.
Did you buy real estate from Littlefoot? And you wouldn't know because his voice changed. So,
but those eyes, he's got those piercing eyes. You would know. Mm-hmm. You remember those eyes.
You would know. Just next time you're with your real estate agent, if you happen to be in San Luis Obispo, ask if he would like a tree star. See how he reacts.
Or, just see if he wants to come on our show.
Or that.
Tell him we love him.
Hey, I listen to this podcast.
These guys, they love you over there. They love you.
Oh, man. Candace Candy Hudson plays Sarah. Before Land Before Time, she appeared as a classmate of Stephanie's in her first school day episode of Full House, and the Leave It to Beaver reboot. Post Sarah, she was in one of the Disney sing-alongs, like one of the Disneyland ones.
Right, yeah.
Quantum Leap, and over 70 episodes of Burt Reynolds' 90s series, Evening Shade. I've never seen an episode of it, but it exists, and there's that Burt Reynolds connection, and then All Dogs, and then we'll get there. This was Sarah, of course, but she eventually came back to voice Sarah, I think, through the fourth movie, so she did come back quite a few times.
Wow.
Which is cool.
So like a quarter of the Land Before Time movies.
Great. Yeah, not even close to all of them.
Maybe a third.
Quite a few. One of the more present voice actors, I guess, through the series. Will Ryan voiced Petrie. This guy was half of the musical duo Willow and Philo, which was a comedy singing team that was employed by Disney Records. He was all over the map in the 80s. He did The Wuzzles, Digit in American Tail, Teen Wolf, DuckTales, Smurfs, Gummy Bears, all the 80s staples. He played Eugene in Adventures in Odyssey, which is a favorite among my friends. He was Royal in The Pebble and the Penguin.
Okay.
And last but not least, he voiced the Duck Brothers in Courage, meaning that we probably already talked about him a little bit. And I realized that after I wrote a lot of stuff about him. So I went ahead and said it. And so you didn't remember. And then there's Darklings that don't remember. And I didn't remember. So
we've talked about so many things.
A reminder.
I remember that. Yeah. His Petrie reminded me of Batty Coda quite a bit.
I don't see it. Not really, other than their stature. But hey.
I know I'm not the only one. Just because you love Robin Williams so much, I do too.
I do.
That doesn't mean they can't be similar.
And I love Batty Coda so much.
I'm not saying Robin stole anything. I'm just saying they're similar.
Me, and we'll talk about it, but to me, Petrie was like the most Looney Tunes of the characters. Like he had a lot of those little behaviors that were very Looney Tunes-like. Yeah. Noticed that a lot. You'll notice that I'm leaving out one of our main cast for important reasons, and obviously. she'll be last but not least. So I'll just go ahead and say Littlefoot's mother was, at least briefly, played by Helen Shaver, who also played Carolyn in the Amityville Horror in the 70s. She played Grace in The Craft. And she appeared in 87 episodes of Poltergeist: The Legacy, among dozens of other movies and shows. So she's done more than just horror, but she did do quite a few. Yeah.
Who voiced the mother of Littlefoot?
Mother of Littlefoot. Wow. And I mean, makes sense that a horror legend would voice this character that destroyed a generation of people. She's also an accomplished director and producer. She's done Dead Like Me, The OC, Judging Amy, Medium, Jericho, Private Practice, Make It or Break It, Law and Order SVU, Elementary, 13 Reasons Why, Westworld. I mean, and this is a short list compared to what she's done. She directed 2 episodes of Margaret Qualley's Maid, the show Maid for Netflix. I loved that show. Go watch it if you haven't watched it, Darklings. This is a true Kaylin recommendation from me to you. That show is so eye-opening and it's so well done. It's phenomenal. Oh my God. But Littlefoot's mother directed 2 episodes of it. So when you're watching that on Netflix with your friend or your partner who doesn't listen to That's Pretty Dark, which by the way, why aren't they? You can be like, did you know the Littlefoot's mom directed this episode? As soon as you see Helen Shaver's name, you'll have a little piece of trivia in your pocket. And she's still going strong. Nuts. So this might be the trivia fact that I cling to whenever we're crying in part 2. Littlefoot's grandparents were voiced by Barbara Horpin. This was her only role, and Bill Irwin. At least his laugh, because Grandpa doesn't really have a whole lot of dialogue. But
I don't remember either of them speaking at all.
Yeah, not much. But Bill Irwin was another one of those in everything guys. He was in Home Alone, Lassie, Twilight Zone, Gunsmoke, The Waltons, Punky Brewster, Who's the Boss, Full House, Seinfeld, Living Single, and even Mary-Kate and Ashley's So Little Time.
Wow.
He was uncredited.
Many episodes in a row
so was she. That? But I had to do, I wasn't, I'm going to be honest with y'all, I wasn't going to include the grandparents because they really didn't say a whole lot. But then I saw that and I was like, I have to, because it's Mary-Kate and Ashley, and that gets me one step closer to saying their name every episode. And then Mr. Frank Welker, have to shout him out here. He provided the vocal effects for Spike and Sharptooth.
Yeah, I was going to say the 2 non-speaking characters.
Yeah, the 2 non-speaking characters, Frank Welker, and plenty of the other dino sounds as well. Sure, and I feel like we talk about him almost every single time we cover something that's animated. Because
if you need an animal sound,
he's the guy.
He's the man. Guy.
And again, obviously, I left out a very important part of this movie.
Yes.
Because, of course, the late and very lovely Judith Barcy played Ducky.
Another and I swear to role.
I had tears in my eyes from the first words Ducky said.
Yeah.
And it's not just because of Judith. Like, it isn't. Yeah, like, her voice is so sweet.
It's so
and the characters that she plays are so pure.
I know.
And, okay, I hate to be... We did a major tribute to Judith in our All Dogs episode. We basically went true crime with it, unfortunately. And we did a whole dive into it. So it's like episode 8 or something. If you skipped that, I don't blame you. But we did talk a lot about it, Judith, in that episode. And I won't rehash the whole thing.
Yeah.
But for any Darklings that don't know, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but Judith Barcy was killed by her father in a murder-suicide just before All Dogs Go to Heaven came out. And she actually has Yep. It's on her gravestone. That's like one of her, like, that memorializes her. Having worked with her on this movie, she was supposedly Spielberg's first choice to play Lex in Jurassic Park. But he was completely unaware that she'd passed away.
Wow.
And he, obviously was like very distraught and upset when he found out, because she was in his mind from this film, and he wanted her to be in Jurassic Park. And I can only imagine Judith Barcy in that role.
Right. Yeah.
In Jurassic Park.
That would have been something else.
Yeah. And I don't know. I've always felt like a particular kinship to Judith, especially her portrayal of Ducky. Ducky's... Several people throughout in my life, have compared me to Ducky or like mentioned Ducky. I don't know why, but that's just always been kind of a thing in my life. And she feels really important to the soul of our show. Judith does, both for the innocence that she brought to these characters and because of what she suffered.
Right.
And I think it's so important to be talking about this stuff, to make sure that the art is explored, to make sure that those layers, like we reach all of those layers, and so that her work and her characters can live on. We feel that way about all the creators, really. Well, I'll say most of the creators that we talk about. Like, we're so honored, honestly, to be able to further their art and to expand it and to keep people thinking about it and talking about it. But I feel that that's, I don't know why, but it feels especially important to me when it comes to Judith. I just want to make sure that her legacy is like, and that's making myself too big, honestly, because her legacy will live on regardless of if we have a podcast or not. But because I do have this, we have this show and we have this opportunity. Anytime I have the opportunity, I shout about how talented she was and how just brilliant of an actress she was at such a young age. And it's so sad that was cut short, and it didn't have to be.
It definitely strikes a certain chord.
If you or anyone you know, I said the same thing in All Dogs, are facing or suffering from any kind of domestic violence or abuse, there are resources. There are plenty of them. Reach out to us if you want. We're not specialists or experts. We're probably not qualified, but I can get you resources and put you in touch with somebody that might be. If you see something, say something. Like, just never, I would never want any kind of situation like that to escalate to this point. And so anything that I could do to stand in between or prevent or be an advocate for people facing in situations like that, I want to do.
You're here.
Because it's very real and it's happening. And Darklings, if you're listening and you're affected, like, you know, our hearts go out to you, and it's rough. We talk about the emotional impact of these movies. We talk about, you know, learning, growing, changing, all that stuff, and all of it's really important. But there are so many horrors that people face in their own worlds and their own families every day. And I don't want that to be the case. I mean, who would? Yeah. But it's really heavy when you think about it, and when you think about what is taken from the world by truly sick individuals like that.
Yep.
To hurt their loved ones, to hurt anybody close to them. So yeah, unfortunately, that is all I have for my part 1 research on Land Before Time. So yeah, ending on a high note, but I had to talk about Ducky. It's very important.
Make sure we leave you all with some uplifting resonance. And
I will say, you know, to wrap it up, uplifting resonance. That's what we do. But again, this was a film that was being made to talk about heavy themes, to help children understand these themes. For many people that I know personally, you even said it earlier, like, it's the first time that you're kind of putting yourself in that position. What would it feel like to lose a loved one, a mother, like, you know, a caregiver, someone who is central to your life? To be on your own. How does that
just
look?
Like that. Yeah.
And
with zero guidance.
There was a lot of discussion, I will say, and we'll say more. A Vulture article had talked about these producers making this film and quoted Spielberg, but coming to this moment in Land Before Time, a lot of the producers were concerned about, like, this is too hard. We don't want kids to see this. Like, this is too much. And again, this is also pre-Mufasa, right? Like, this is a pretty big deal.
I thought about that quite a few times.
It's a big deal. I mean, it's post Bambi, but pre-Mufasa. And they said it was Steven Spielberg who said, wait a minute, we are all born, we all live to a certain age, and then we all go, and someday we maybe come back again, and everyone has to go through it. It's just this cycle. It's a circle of life. Yep. And so hiding that from kids doesn't do anybody any favors. And I think that's really what Steven Spielberg was getting at. Like, yes, this is hard. Yes, this is heavy. It might be the kind of thing that some people can't or don't want to watch. It might be the kind of thing that's, you know,
sure,
it's difficult to engage with. But clearly it shaped a generation. So many of us kept going back to it because it does, again, it gives you space to process feelings like that when you're not in the actual tragedy yourself, which is only a positive, net positive, as far as like emotional intelligence, etc. Unless you're like us and have anxiety and or develop anxiety from ruminating on such ideas.
Right.
I don't think that this, and we used to say it, we say it all the time, like it's hard to tease it out and say, what's the source of anxiety? What's the source of, and we're going to, I'm sure, get into all the psychology of that in part 2. But if you have a healthy brain, if you're lucky enough to have a healthy brain, working through and processing this stuff,
one of the rare few people,
is can only be a positive in terms of like growth in yourself, and then also empathizing with others who have been through something like this. Because like Steven Spielberg said, like, we all do it. We're all gonna do it. That was our theme last time in Worthless, this existential summer 2026. It's not hot girl summer, it's existential summer.
Existential summer.
We're just living in it. We have a lot of existentialism lined up for this summer. We have a lot of existentialism all the time, but for some reason, like the idea of obsolescence,
it's different.
We're looking at these dinosaurs going extinct. And,
their time
extinction
is already limited.
Right.
It's existential and yet accessible.
It's existential and yet so accessible. And that's where we're at with it.
Asparagus children.
But they're self-conscious about the way their pee smells. It's not the first Christmas movie we referenced today, but it might be the last. Name that movie, Darkling Dears.
There's still time.
You think so? You're gonna name something else in these next few minutes?
Yeah, I can actually. Oh no.
You've forgotten every Christmas movie.
No. There's something you said earlier that made me think of a Christmas movie. I just didn't say
talked about Grinch. We talked about
No, you were talking about I forgot what you said, but I thought of Home Alone because something about it. Oh, I would think it was the brontosaurus thing. And you said it's bothered you for years, and I was thinking of Kevin talking about the furnace in the basement, and he goes, "It's bothered me for years."
Okay, wow. I stand corrected. You got one more in there.
Don't ever underestimate me. If you guys want to see
Don't ever underestimate can name another Christmas movie. I was going to say Christmas in July, but it's not even July yet. Might be. I don't know. It will be when this comes out, yeah? Christmas in July.
When is Christmas in July? July 25th? Or is it just July?
I don't know. I think it's just July. I think
we're in Summerween right now. I don't think we're...
we haven't made it to Christmas.
Is June Summerween and then July is Christmas in July?
It has to be because August is too close to actual Halloween.
Right.
So if you want to hear us debate things like this, probably not. But just more of the weird shit that we talk about randomly, you can find us on social media at That's Pretty Dark Podcast on Instagram, at That's Pretty Dark on TikTok. You can find us on our Gmail inbox. In our Gmail inbox, we've gotten some amazing emails lately, including that serendipitous one about the Midnight Madness, the Pied Piper episode. We would love to hear more from you. We're loving the influx of new Darklings coming in and binging and like reminding us of episodes that we haven't thought about in a while. That's been really fun. So
yes, that's been
if you're
really,
thinking,
really good.
This is your sign right now. Okay, Darkling, this is me to you. Kaylin here. If you're thinking about sending us an email, if there's something that's crossed your mind that you've appreciated or you've felt while you've been listening recently, go ahead and send it.
Do it.
We need it. We want to hear it. If you want more of us and you wanna give us some of your hard-earned dollars in exchange for our content, you can find us on Patreon, patreon.com/TPD podcast. We appreciate it so much, every single one of you. Some of you have been there with us since the beginning. Couldn't appreciate it more. It helps us make main feed content, but there's also some behind-the-scenes stuff over there. I know Christian was working on adding something new recently.
Yeah, I did it.
Room floor.
I got the new ghost story out. Hey, I didn't get it in time for the last episode release, but I did get it out the week after. So nice. I did kind of what I said I was going to do, if not the way I said I was going to do it. But we do have a patron thing.
Oh, hey, let's thank our new patron.
We want to thank Robert with no last name, just Robert.
Oh,
so thank you, Robert.
Thank you, Robert.
I don't want to guess at your email address because I don't want to give anything away. But sure. Robert, thank you.
We'll protect your privacy and your sanity, and we thank you.
Always protect your privacy, unless Patreon gets hacked, in which case we have nothing to do with that.
That sounded like you're predicting something.
Had nothing to do with it.
We've had too much weird serendipity. You can't say shit like that. Knock on some wood, remember?
Look, damage control.
Oh my god. Not a thing.
From the past. Futuristic damage control.
God, if anything
bad happens, crazy I had nothing to do with it. Nothing.
This time, I'm gonna be freaked out. We've had too many weird things.
If a meteor comes and wipes out an entire history of this planet, I had nothing to do with it.
No.
I take zero responsibility.
Me neither.
And also none of the credit. I don't want any of the blame or the credit.
Blame. You can find us. That's everywhere you can find us, right? I think so. I think I said last time we have a new website, some new website updates, which is fun still, at least for me.
It looks good.
Thanks. And if there's anything else that I'm forgetting,
I think that's it.
Okay. Well, then I did it. I ended an episode.
Wow. Great job. Good work. This was fun.
Yeah.
I really feel like there's a lot of pressure off of me to do the dinosaur research, and I can just talk about the movie.
Yeah, I did the dino stuff. But if there's anything you come across that you're curious about, shoot it to me, and I'll do some dino Googling before. But
yeah, no, seriously, if we get enough questions,
if people actually ask some,
we will do an extra episode of just looking up the answers to questions. But if we don't get enough, maybe we'll just do a segment next time and just work it in. So, but I don't have any hard numbers for you, but if we do meet a certain threshold where it feels doable, at least a half hour, we'll do it.
Okay.
So it's up to you guys.
Y'all hear that?
So
that email you were thinking about sending, just include a dino.
Send us an email. Send us a question about dinosaurs, or a fun fact, or a prompt of some kind.
Do you know what? I like that better because I guarantee there's some people that are going to be info dumping for us.
Correct us. Send us your favorite fun fact about dinosaurs.
Please.
About the prehistoric era in general. I'll take it, whatever it is.
Because we need some of that support to get through the emotions of part 2.
Yeah, and at worst case, we just throw in fun facts to add some levity.
Every time we feel like crying, we just do a fun fact.
We'll just do a fun
fact. Instead of a drinking game, we just, I like that. I like that a lot.
So it's really up to you guys.
I feel better. I feel a weight.
This is a community effort. This is a joint effort.
Because again, we're healing. We're going to get through this together.
This is our existential summer 2026, but it's also our blockbuster era. So everybody's going to the movies together at the same time, going to the theaters. Big blockbusters coming in.
I like that. It'll make us feel closer to you, and it'll help
make you feel closer
keep us afloat in the tears. See, I said I ended an episode, and then we just did this instead.
Floating on our tears inside of those tree stars. Let's do it.
God.
We'll catch you guys next time. Part 2.
Thank you for being here. Appreciate you greatly. Thanks for letting me do this one.
Before we finish this episode, it's gonna be the land after time, if you know what I mean.
Oh yeah. Forget the vaudeville hook. There's a meteor coming.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah.
I like it.
Anyway.
All right.
Sorry. I'm so sorry. Goodbye.
That's Pretty Dark Podcast is produced by Kaylin Andrews and me, Christian Baxter Mott.
With music by Jonathan Simmons and cover design by Halftone Horror.
You can support our show by supporting our sponsors, or go to patreon.com/TPD podcast to unlock all the Pretty Dark bonus content we have in store.
Please share your experiences and let us know what shows, films, or villains still haunt you from childhood on our socials or at that'sprettydarkpodcast@gmail.com.
For all other information, visit our website, that'sprettydark.com.
Remember, you're never really alone.
So, until next time, sweet dreams, everyone.